Welcome to One Less Than 3 Math. Greetings and salutations. This video's learning objective is to be able to plot cumulative frequency diagrams and box plots. So here we have an IGCSE Extended or GCSE Higher exam style question. Pterodactyl is flying around a lot, probably more than he should. He embarks on a number of flights each day for 140 days, and he records the data in a frequency table below. So question 1, use the data to plot a cumulative frequency curve. We've got the data, which is a number of class intervals, and they are the number of flights that he took. The frequency is the number of times, number of days that he took, for example, between 0 and 10 flights. So that's question 1. You need to plot the cumulative frequency curve. Question 2 is to find the lower quartile, the median, the upper quartile, and the interquartile range. There is a question 3 on the next slide, but we'll come to that later. So if you would like to do question 1 and 2, please pause the video now before I proceed with the solutions and explanations. So, cumulative frequency. I don't think there's a person on the planet that likes cumulative frequency as much as I do, and I've got a great way that will help you remember what to do. So, I'm just going to show you a little diagram, which is my little memory trick to remember what to do for cumulative frequency. So we have our axes, and we have a hill. Now the hill goes up, it doesn't come down. Now I'm going to give a bit of free promo to Kate right now, because we are going to be running up that hill. Now, the reason I say this is because cumulative frequency is a running total. Thanks, Kate. Now, we are going to run up that hill and create a running total of our data. Now, I love to run, and here's me running up the hill. And where am I trying to get to? I'm trying to get to the top. And the reason I say that is because we're going to plot our data at the top of each class interval. So this is how we work out the cumulative frequency. We have a running total and we plot it at the top of each class interval. So let's go. Cumulative frequency. So up to 10 and including 10 flights, Pterodactyl was within this class interval on 13 days. So at 10 we're going to plot 13. Now the cumulative frequencies, as I keep stressing, is a running total. Now, up to 30 flights, Pterodactyl took up to 30 flights on a total of 78 days. And what we've done there is we've done 13, add 65 to get 78. Now, up to 50 flights, the cumulative frequency is going to be 78 plus 40. So we keep adding it on. It's a running total. And the cumulative frequency up to and including 50 is 118. Now, the final value, the final cumulative frequency should be 140 because there were 140 days. So 118 plus 22, is it 140? Yes, it is. So up to and including 60 flights, 140 is the cumulative frequency, 140 days. So now we need to plot these values. Now the y-axis is ever so slightly off, so I'm just going to put some little red dots there so we can see the y-axis a little bit more clearly. Now, the first value we're plotting at 10 is a cumulative frequency of 13. So 10 is the x-axis, 13 is the y-axis. So there we are. Our second cumulative frequency we're going to plot at 30 on the x-axis and 78 on the y-axis. Our next data to plot is going to be at 50 on the x-axis and 118 on the y-axis to represent the cumulative frequency. And finally, at 60, we are going to plot 140 and then freehand, so it's a nice smooth curve, a nice smooth hill, we're going to plot our cumulative frequency curve. So here we are, there's the cumulative frequency curve. Now we can move on to question 2. That's a beautiful cumulative frequency curve. We now need to find the lower quartile, the median, the upper quartile, and the interquartile range. Now, because we've got a cumulative frequency of 140, we go in at 70 for the median, because that's half of 140. And that allows us to identify our median by going down to the x-axis, the number of flights. So the median number of flights, according to this cumulative frequency curve, is 28. You get a little bit of leeway in your accuracy of your answer, generally in exam questions, by the way. The lower quartile is half of the median, or a quarter of 140, and that's 35. So we go in at 35 for the lower quartile, and that is 18. So we've got a lower quartile of 18. The upper quartile, a little trick is you can add the lower quartile and the median together in terms of where you went in on the cumulative frequency, or you can say 3/4 of your total cumulative frequency. Either way, that's going to be 105, 35 add 70, or 3/4 of 140. So we go in at 105, and again we go down to our number of flights, so the upper quartile is 44. The interquartile range, now the range is the biggest takeaway, the smallest. It's fairly similar. The interquartile range is the upper quartile take away the lower quartile. So we look at our values, we've got 44 take away 18, and the interquartile range is 26. And the middle 50% of the data is within the quartiles. So, now we're going to move forward onto the next part of the learning objective, which is to be able to plot box plots. And we're going to use this data that we've taken from the cumulative frequency curve. So, we're going to move on to the next page, and we're going to look at the minimum value, the lower quartile, the median, the upper quartile, and the maximum value to plot a box plot. Now, the question says, and this should say question 3, it's a minimal typo, so I'm going to leave it there. The minimum number of flights pterodactyl carried out in one day was 3, and the maximum number was 58. So we've now got a minimum value and a maximum value, and that allows us to identify our data for our box plot. So I've put that data there. That's the data from the cumulative frequency curve and these two new values that we have. And we need to plot them on a box plot. Sometimes it's called a box and whisker diagram. You'll see why. So we put our numbers on our axis, and that represents flight. Now, the minimum value was 3, so we draw a line at 3. There we are. We also plot our maximum value, which is 58, so we draw a line there. And we keep doing the same thing for the lower quartile, the median, and the upper quartile. So we have these lines. Now, the middle 3 lines, the lower quartile, the median, and the upper quartile, are then made into a box. And this is why it's called a box and whisker diagram sometimes, because you've got your 2 whiskers coming out to represent the minimum value and the maximum value. So, I hope this video has been useful. Please hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. There's plenty more videos coming. Hasta la pizza, arrivederci, so long, goodbye, au revoir, ciao for now. We'll see you next time.